joining me on this rave night. The music is pretty upbeat, so we're gonna try to be upbeat as well. How are you all doing this fine? I hope you're all doing well. Hello chat, Eduardo, Ishrit, Kunal. Music is too loud. Okay, hold on. How is that? That should be better. Music should be lower than me now. Hello, Azimuddin. Can't hear you. The music is too loud. Okay, how about now? Hold on, let me also open my YouTube. Okay, how's this now? Is my voice louder than the music? Yes, now is great. Cool. Thank you so much, folks. Thank you for letting me know. I hope you're all doing great. Today is another fun chat where we are going to do state management. So if you were here yesterday, you may remember that we ended the stream at adding React context to our app. And you know, oftentimes when we add I am the first one who liked the stream. Everyone liked the stream. Everyone liked the stream. Please. And yes. So yesterday we ended the chat at the stream at adding a state management. Actually, we were using React context, and we decided that today we're gonna add a tanstack query. But you know what? Oftentimes in our applications, we tend to start bloating them by adding third-party libraries, but we don't often. Oh, hold on. My mic is not close to me. That might be better. We often keep adding these libraries to our app without realizing why do we actually need them, and why can't we just do everything with React's inbuilt hooks, you know? You should be streaming true. Oh, I love that. I wish there was a hook called You Shruti and I could add it with my profile picture, maybe like some social media links. That would be so good. Oh yeah, so I was saying that, you know, we tend to like bloat our applications with third-party libraries without actually realizing why we need a third-party library, and why can't we just like fetch using or manage our state using whatever we have in React. So it's actually a good idea to think about like what your needs are of your application and what is that React is not giving you before adding a new library. So for example, if you want to add state management today, why can't we add state management with useContext and useReducer? Maybe our application doesn't need us to add like a new library like redux or or like tanstack router, tanstack query. Maybe we don't need to add that. So today we're going to take a deep dive into the state that our app handles and the state that we need to pass around to think about what are the pros and cons of each approach. We're going to start off with useContext, which is something that we were working on yesterday. Actually, yesterday we ended up only just prop drilling, but then we'll also talk about why prop drilling is bad. So today is going to be a bit more of understanding your app, and understanding the data that flows in the app. And this is a really important skill to hone as a senior engineer and as you become senior, which is what is the thing that your app needs you to do and why can't you do it with the native solution approach. And if you do need to use a new library, which library, a pros and cons approach of each of the items that React offers, but also each of the libraries that you tend to offer. Because yes, tanstack query is great, but why add tanstack query? Right? Okay, before I get started, I want to quickly say hello to everybody who's joined. Thank you so much for joining me on another live stream. I was about to say fireside chat, but on another live stream. As you may know, I have been live streaming every single weekday of January and February. This is season 2. I have been live streaming for 41 days straight. Holy shit. I cannot believe this. We create in season 1 we created an AI we added OpenAI integration to it. It was a JavaScript app. In season 2 we are taking that AI application we built. We also built a recommendation engine and productionizing it so that we can use these skills to actually take a sample project or a proof of concept project and understand how it is done in companies like Slack and PayPal. A quick introduction of myself as well, in case you all don't know me. My name is Shruti, engineer. I do front-end stuff. I work at Slack right now. I have been building front-end applications for over a decade. And in this live stream, I bring all of my experience to help you understand what it takes to build a front-end application at scale in a large company. But also in this live stream, I have also been building skills and learning skills myself. So in season 1, I actually created a embeddings project where I generated a recommendation engine, and I have never done that. So this is a very raw, learn with me, build with me live stream. Hello, Shruti ma'am. Hello, Kun Shukla. How are you doing? Also, before to know from you all, is this the first live stream you're joining, or have you been here for a while? So tell me in the chat if this is your first, so say first, or tell me if you are my OG. Meanwhile, I'll get my app running. First time viewer. Honor is an OG first time viewer. I love it. I'll also share the link of the GitHub repo. I met you on X and watching you around 1 month. Oh wow, that's so cool. Thank you, Kunj. Thank you for joining me. Right, here is I'm just here to have fun. Absolutely. Tushar, not first, mostly attending live or viewing it later. Oh, awesome. Bhavishya, nice to see you. We met on We Make Dev, started following you since then. Awesome, so glad to see you here. I'm so glad you could join me on this live stream. Okay, here is. To be honest, I didn't know who you were till Diljit shared your vibe song video on X. No way, are you serious? Is that how you actually got to know about me? Damn. Actually, if people don't know that, I would love to share that. Hold on. GitHub link for this repo. And I'm gonna pin this message as well. But pin message. I wanna share that Diljit Dosanjh's tweet because I feel like that is the highlight of my life when Diljit Dosanjh retweeted me. Not just retweeted, he actually quoted me as well. That was my life. That was the highlight. How many of you don't know who Diljit Dosanjh is? You got free advert by him. I know, right? Does anybody here not know Diljit Dosanjh? I've got to share that video. I'm seeing so many frame drops. Really? I think it was probably when I moved my... See it again? Let me know. Your stream is lagging. Really? Hold on. If it is lagging, I know what the problem is. Not now, right? I think it was when I moved my camera. Let me also check on YouTube. Okay, I think this should be fine, right? Bhavishya, I have this question. What is then the best channel to learn web dev in terms of all the content? I'm watching Chai and Code. Any suggestions? I don't know why it seems like a newbie question. Actually, not a newbie question, and I love it. Still dropping frames from me, really? Aww. Okay, let me quit some applications because that can cause issues. Quitting Discord. Hopefully that should fix it, but if not, I don't know. It looks fine for me in streaming. It's fine for me now. Okay, yeah, it looks fine for me on YouTube. I hope it's not, it doesn't happen anymore. Okay, I'll answer Bhavishya's question. What is the best channel to learn web dev in terms of all the content? So I think there's no one channel that is the best. There are a bunch of channels that I follow, and I would recommend you do the same as well. I think you have latency issues. You know what it is? I increased the bitrate for camera so that it wasn't so pixelated, which is why I think the camera looks good, but then the stream could having latency issues. Oh, it sucks. It feels like you have to play a kind of like a dancing game with this. Okay, let me answer the question first. So I would recommend not following just one channel, but instead following a bunch of different. These 5 channels is what I would recommend, and the reason is you get different opinions from people. You get different ways to learn from people. So that I really like that you mentioned Chai and Code, which is actually a channel that I love. I think Hitesh's videos are awesome. So that is something that I would definitely recommend. There are other channels that I really like. Web Dev Simplified is one, which is Kyle. I think his videos are really in depth, and he talks about the why, which I really like. So when you're looking for a channel, I would suggest look for people who talk about the technical parts, but also try to separate their opinions from the technical stuff. And this is why I like Web Dev Simplified channel a lot, because he talks about the content, but he also shares it in quite a lot of detail. So that, and then Fireship, which is a channel that I like to follow for keeping up with tech. So you always say there's so much happening in tech, how do you keep up? I think following the right kind of people really helps. So I would follow those 2 channels, Fireship, Web Dev Simplified. Web Dev Cody is actually pretty good as well, so that is one. And then I also really like Jack Harrington's videos, because he talks about stuff, he talks about content in a lot of technical detail. I'm also gonna, while I'm talking about them, so I can share them with you. Jack Harrington. So this is some channels. Let me share Fireship as well. Fireship also does a really good job of producing 1-minute content, which I really admire. Fireship. So he'll have this stuff in 100 seconds and that stuff in seconds. So I really like those. Also, Fireship sponsors my GitHub, so I really appreciate it. And what else they say? Web Dev Simplified is awesome. Hitesh's channel is awesome. Web Dev Simplified. These are the channels that I follow, and then I'm gonna share with you one more for React. I actually have a bunch of channels I follow, so I'm gonna try to see screen. Hold on, I have to pick a display source. It's like every day it's a new game to play. Okay. Alrighty. Except this is not looking good. There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay. All right. So Web Dev Simplified already talked about. Oh, what else? Ryan's channel is really good, but he does have a lot of senior content. Frames are dropping at intervals. Oh man. Okay, I probably cannot edit this while I'm streaming, can I? Let's see. Let me try to do something. Hey Anas, how's it going? Okay, this might be better. Ryan's channel is just the best gem. I think his channel is really good, but I would say that it is a bit more advanced. So if you're just starting out, I think this would be a little bit too advanced for you, but his channel is absolutely great. What else? Oh, Syntax. You have to follow Syntax FM. I mean, absolutely. This is how I honestly started in content. Arjun, welcome. Ryan's all streams are so informative and very deep discussions. Yeah, very long streams, very informative streams. Lot to learn. Okay. All right, so that's what I would do. I would also boot my channel, boot my app. Oh, hey, I did not even mention my channel. You forgot Jason? Jason Langsdorff? We'll have to tell him. No, Jason is awesome. Jason's channel is now called Code TV, which is actually why I missed him. Jason's channel is awesome. If you have not been following Jason, what the hell are you doing? He makes Learn with Jason, and he makes these like, oh, I didn't even see this, Netflix style web app build. He makes this like Netflix style shows. I have been on here. I have been on Leet Heat and I have been on Web Dev Challenge. Both of them are amazing. You have to watch the Web Dev Challenge and you have to watch Leet Heat. Leet Heat was just so fun, so funny. If you've ever wanted to like play this Heartwing style game, what is the name of the game called? What is the name of the game called? Shit, the name is just skipping me. Oh, there, Leet Heat. Gotta go watch this. Today there's gonna be so many links in the chat. Alrighty. Absolutely amazing show. Okay, so folks, if you're new here, I do want to do a quick demo of what we've been building. So let me get my app running. Meanwhile, there are almost 100 people in this chat. What are the thoughts on Theo's channel? I think Theo's channel is really good for kind of like keeping up with tech. I think Theo does have strong opinions on stuff, so I would be able to kind of take his stuff and form your own opinions. And I would suggest that with every channel. A lot of people would have very strong opinions in tech, but as somebody who is just starting out, I think you tend to get into this habit of, well, that must be the absolute truth, and that is a hard habit to break. Also, when you start working later in the industry, you realize like the things you learned before are now challenged, or the way of thinking has changed. So what I would say is keep learning from these channels, but also form your own opinions. Don't take anybody's opinions as the absolute truth. I hear who follow every channel you mentioned here. Awesome. Today I'm searching and learning more about PRD. Need your guidance. Any advice on do's and don'ts related to PRD? These are also I'm gonna get back to your question, Anas, in just a second. But something that I also want to highlight is that these are all big creators, right? There are a lot of people who are doing really cool stuff, but they're not that big yet. And so it would be a disservice to them if I did not call them out, if I did not recommend their channel. And some of those people are my favorite, Ankita Kulkarni. Where is her channel? Ankita Kulkarni. Ankita Kulkarni. I think she's making great videos. Can someone help us by listing the channels Shruti mentioned? Join just now. Oh, Dawn. I hope somebody can mention that. Ankita makes really good videos. I think her videos are very informative, so highly recommend check her out. She just hit her 10k subscribers. Oh, look at that, there's 10.1 already. She just hit her 10k subscribers and I love her. Oh, Kenzie Dots, like Kent makes awesome videos. Not a small channel, but Kenzie Dots is awesome as well. I also wanna share who else? Oh, Hunar, I follow you too. Oh, Ben Holmes. Again, not a super big creator, but still pretty good. Jack Harrington, he's awesome. I'm trying to find Kevin's channel. And I can't find it. Kevin, what's Kevin's channel? And UIDev. UIDev is pretty good too. Not a small channel, but pretty good. Shruti shared the links in the Discord. I will share it after the stream, but I think Arjun might be here who might be able to help. Or either Ishrit or Hunar might be able to help as well. Shruti, why don't you start developing SaaS software products? You also have a distribution. You would be coming homes with bag. I have been thinking about SaaS products actually. Yeah, I've been thinking about SaaS products. Deep thoughts. Hey, why don't you use dark mode on YouTube? I I like this. I don't know. I like it. I find it hard to read in dark mode. So you'll notice like even my dev 2 is actually in dark mode, I think. Yeah, is it a white mode? I find it hard to read in dark mode. I kind of fall asleep. It's weird. Leaving for 12 minutes. Not allowed, Ishret. Just kidding. I'll see you soon. Thank you, Azimuddin. Link shared in Discord channel. If you're not on Discord, the link is actually up here, bit.ly/ShrutiDiscord. It's up on the header. Go check it out. If you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, guys, come on. Help me get to 3,000 subscribers by February 28th. That is my goal. And my goal is also to get this app running today. So let's get that. NodeMon, server.js, server.js. Also, you guys are the first to know. This Thursday, 2 days from today, my time, I will have Adi Osmani on Fireside Chats with me. I am so excited for this Fireside Chat. In case you don't know Adi Osmani, I'm gonna go find him. Adi Osmani. Adi Osmani, amazing person. If you haven't been following him, definitely go and follow him. He talks a lot about Google Chrome, performance, engineering leadership. He is just an amazing developer, and what an inspirational person. Talking to him for an hour was probably the highlight of my year last year. I got so much inspiration. And if you come to my Chai and Chat live stream on February 28th, I will tell you a story which was actually influenced because of him. He inspired me to let go of my fear and take on the dream that I've always been dreaming and make action towards this, which is why I've started these live streaming. So I will talk about that in detail in that live stream. But on this Thursday, he will be coming on the Fireside Chats, which is going to be on my YouTube channel. And I will be streaming that around 9 a.m. PST on this Thursday. I'm so excited for it. It is such an amazing conversation. Another Chai and Chat. Yes, another Chai and Chat. Bring your questions. All right, so I got NodeMon running, and then I think the only thing I need is Convex app. So, oh my goodness. What is it? npx convex dev. npx. Okay, just to remind you what this app is about in case you're joining here for the first time. Actually, how many of you are here for the first time? I feel like there's nobody here who's here for the first time. Or am I wrong? I think Bhavishya might be here for the first time. Anybody else who's here for the very first time? Okay, I think not. Okay, which is fine. All right. So basically, we can fill the description and click search, and this will take us, this will show a bunch of properties that match our list. If it cooperates with me, it is running. $3001 local 5173. Search this, inspect. Okay, there it is. So all right, so we entered like an English language text. The app converted that into JSON, sent it over to our real estate API, which then generated a list of properties that matched the the requirement that I sent, right? And the requirement that we sent to the API was 21 million to 1 million, 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, nice to have is a backyard. So we are actually looking for a real estate for a property in Seattle using those requirements. Now, you might notice that there are some errors in this, which is fine. We actually have a bug fix like item to fix that, so don't worry about that. But what we've been doing is we added this like button and dislike button. So if you like a property, we want to show you more properties like that, and that is our recommendation engine. So yesterday what we were doing is if you go back, fill and search, if I click like, I think I was showing it somewhere. Oh, maybe at the bottom here. So based on your recommendations, I'm actually pulling a list of properties that match the property that I liked. As of now, it's just giving me actually the score I liked, and that is because here I'm just displaying score. So if I display underscore ID, it will now show me the database ID of that property. Obviously, this is not super helpful, like what am I going to do with this database property, but this is a good start because all I have to do is fetch this database ID from the Convex database, which is the database we're using, and we're good to go. So we're going to pause this kind of UI app, like this component, the recommendation component for today, because today we want to talk about how we need to store data in this app and how we should pass data around. Right now, if you remember, if you've been here on this series, you will remember that we have not added any external library. Yes, we are using tanstack router for the route-based navigation, but in terms of state management, we have not used any library. Yesterday, there was a recommendation to add use query, which is tanstack query. Also, Redux is a pretty good state management as well, very standard all across all across industries. So that is a great library as well. However, I am a strong believer that before adding anything extra, you got to figure out what is that your app currently misses and what is that your native capabilities are missing, because of which you are now having to add a new app. So that's what we're going to do today, which is talk about the state management of this app. So we talked about database choices in one of these streams, but today we're going to do why is my to-do list like? Some days my to-do starts hallucinating. Property actions, readme, hold on, where do I add this? Kind of want to add like a notes page. Where should I make this? Maybe Notion? New page. I don't want to make Notion pages. I do have Figma and I'm not feeling like Figma. Okay, let's do Keynote actually, because why not? Keynote. All right, file, open, new file, Keynote. Oh, let's talk about what our data in the app looks like. What is the flow of data, and what is the requirements we have? So I'm just going to call this state management. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. First of all, let's copy this. Okay, you go down. I don't need you. I need you. I don't need you. Go away. All right. This is my Figma. Oh, like I'm gonna open my Figma. Wow, what is all this? This is the Figma that we have created in actually one of these live streams together. But I'm going to use this page to figure out how data flows within my app. This is the design of what the app should look like. So I'm going to copy this over into my app, into my and I want you to collaborate with me as well and tell me while I do this app, because this is a collaborative process. So let's maximize this and let's talk through this. Meanwhile, there's a question here. Yes, I'm here for the first time. I'm thinking of starting technical writing as a side hustle, earning apart from web dev. Do you think there is demand? Yes, there is a lot of demand for technical writing actually, especially if you're writing for companies like LogRocket, if you're writing for companies that are doing a lot of coding technical writing, if that's what you mean. A lot of demand, pays pretty well as well, and a lot of companies offering good money. By the way, how is the stream quality? Are the frames still dropping? Anybody noticed any difference? I also have a YouTube channel, although I'm a fresher trying to do better. I also take free live session on coding. Nice. There was another question here which I think I missed. I'm searching and learning more about PRD. Need your guidance, any advice on do's and don'ts related to PRD? When you say PRD, do you mean the requirements document, Anas? Everything seems fine now. Sweet. Thank you, Azimuddin. Alrighty, let's do this. Now, this is our app. I'm going to talk about each of these components. Option. In isolation. Oh, come on. Control. Okay, I want to crop this stuff. Hey, Ikamjot, how's it going? Alrighty, where is my handy dandy crop format? Crop. Oh, there it is. Okay. Bro, seriously? There. Okay. Okay, this is the home page. Now let's talk about what state this component has. All right, so we'll talk about like the starting state. And here's a recommendation. Why am I doing this? If you're working in a enterprise, you probably will have to write a requirements document. You'll have to write a what is it called? Tech doc. Technical document of what the app is, what data flows through the app, what kind of dependencies you have, who are your stakeholders in terms of those dependencies, those APIs. This is how you can figure that out. So you break down your app into the data that your app needs, figure out where those dependencies are going to come from. If they are APIs, who do you need to call? What data should your app store? What is the state of the app at any point? And this way you'll figure out what libraries you need, wings you need to talk to, which APIs you need to call, and what kind of state management you need, and what kind of cache you need. Okay, so starting state of this homepage. When we start this homepage, we need, I'm gonna make this as this. So when we start this homepage, what happens? As of now, let's go to the app. Let's see. When we start this homepage, we don't have anything, which is fine. If we don't have anything, we are not going to display any properties. We're not going to display any recommendations, which is fine. That is a completely acceptable state. That's how our requirements are going to be. So starting state is actually empty. You may say that maybe location is something that we need, because we're starting off in Seattle and we've kind of hard coded our app to Seattle, which is fine. So we're going to say starting state is Seattle. Now, when a user searches, this is our starting state. When a user searches, type something. As they are typing, we're not displaying anything. But when they hit search, we're going to show a loading state. So what is the exchange of state here? I call it the search state. When a user searches, what is the input that they are giving us? Does anybody have an idea? What if we are accepting in the search state from the user? One of them could be, so the user actually types an English language sentence, right? What does that English language sentence translate to in JSON? It would be ending range, starting range, number of bedrooms, bathrooms, what else? What else do we need from the user? So going back to what we actually outputted, we got price ending, price starting, bedrooms, bathrooms, nice to haves. Those are some things that we need the users to give us, right? So we got nice to haves. Apartment or a house? Yeah, that's actually a good one as well. Like, what kind of property type is it? Optional, but then we'll also have the required parameters. So I would say that nice to haves is actually a required parameter. You could have optional fields like property type, which is whether it's like a house, an apartment, Favorites. Oh, like when you say favorites, do you mean what kind of houses they already have? They already like? Is that what you mean, Chirag? And this is optional. Optional input. So I'm gonna actually add this in here. Starting state, searching, you've got your input, which is bathroom, bedroom, starting range, ending range, and then nice to haves is we kind of pass this down to our property recommendation list, but it is something that is optional because the user does not have to pass it down. And property favorites, as in the recommendations. Are you saying that the user would have already entered what kind of properties they like? And they could say something like, these are the properties that I like. Is that what you're saying? Or are you talking about these recommendations? Okay, so like they would say something like, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom house in Seattle in the range of like 600 to whatever that number is. I think that is search. We do a loading, and then we actually fetch you properties. 660. Okay, so those are the input fields we need from the user when we are searching. This is what the user gives us. But when this is passed to the when this is passed to the UI, I'm going to reduce the size a bit. When this is passed to the UI, what happens in the background? Let's talk about that. This is too small. So let's draw out the architecture of this. So we've got a anything nicer here? I'm gonna add like a computer or web browser computer. Okay, if this was like Excalibur, maybe it would have something nice, but this is what we're working with. So this is fine. Now in our app, which is this, shape, user, person. Okay, that is our user. So this is what the user gives us. And I'm just drawing out the data flow, like I'm not doing anything complicated right now. Right, this is the input that the user gives us. This is my handy user. Okay, so recommendations we won't have as a starting state, because when we don't have anything, we have decided that we're going to display an empty page, like an empty page from a properties list standpoint, and we're gonna show a banner, and we're just gonna have this like search field. So for us, it would look empty. There wouldn't be anything. So we're gonna have this banner, but just expanded a little bit. So that's what we're gonna do. So we won't have recommendation. Okay, so so this is what the input state is that the user gives us. Now, what does this app do? In order to search, it's actually gonna call. Okay, so actually, there's one more step here. the user actually gives us English language text. So I'm going to move this out here because the user is giving us English language text. And we already have to do parsing in order to get that back. Text is looking for a 3-bedroom. Things like that. I'm going to make this smaller. I'm going to make this here, make this here. Okay, so that is actually our initial input that the user gives us. Now, in order to even get this back, what do? If you have not followed this app, this streaming, you may not know this, but I will share anyway, which is, even before we do this, we actually call our LLM API. Okay. No. Let's just call LLM API. And I'm going to make it purple. I could have totally done this in Excalibur, but we're committed. Okay. Why not? All right, so we call the LLM API, which actually takes this English language text, parses this natural language, and then sends it back as JSON object. Which is actually this stuff. Okay, why are we doing all this? Okay, why are we doing all this? We want to figure out state, right? We want to figure out what we want to store in our app in the first case. So that's why we're breaking down what data is flowing and how it is flowing in order to figure out what are the routes where we have to add state. Now, we pass this information down to our LLM API, which then gives us a JSON back. But before we send it back to our UI, we actually send it to our backend service. So all of this is actually part of our backend service. But before we do that, we actually send this down to another service, which takes this JSON calls our API. This is the API layer. I'm going to label this blue because this is backend. This is the Zillow API. And now the Zillow API does the job of like figuring out what properties we need and sends it back to the UI, which is how we actually display our properties, which is the components property list, property details, things like that. So let's talk about what data Zillow API gives back to us. If we log what Zillow API gives, actually we can figure out what it sends by looking at our component, which is where we kind of parse this. Server.js, we have a function properties. We have a function called fetch properties, and we have a function called, where are we sending this? Forgot my code. Parse properties, fetch properties, and then we're just sending it back to the UI. So I think in property list is where we get it. Render properties, properties.map, property details, no, app.jsx, here, render properties, loading. In render properties, we've got this properties, which comes back from parse properties. That is the URL that we called. Actually, we should also write down which URLs we're calling. What is the chat saying? I want to make the input better if I type 6 million for the price range and words, but also AI. Yesterday I turned from state management day to PowerPoint presentation day. It's not even PowerPoint. Since using PowerPoint would be so much easier. No. Keynote. This is much better than PowerPoint. Okay, so we actually have to write down the route as well. So I'm going to put that route down here. This is going to be at API/parse properties. That is the endpoint we call. And then we send this over to Zillow API, which is, what is it? API fetch server.js. This one, Zillow API. So I'm just going to call it Zillow API, which is actually slash, what is it? The Rapid API, Zillow Working API. And this is an external API, so I'm going to mark it as such. How about pink? Oh no, that is too big. I'm going to mark it with the pink color. No, I'm going to mark it with a red color. No, I don't want to mark it with the red color. I'm going to mark it with a, I don't know, yellow. How's that? Working API. Okay. This is the URL. Alright, so what does Zillow API give text? So Zillow API actually gives us back data like price ending. It actually gives us back, it actually gives us price, which is the price of a property, like, I don't know, maybe this much. Zillow PID, which is the ID of the property. Zillow PID. Is this big enough for you guys? Maybe I'll zoom it in. Zoom. How about this? Okay. Maybe a bit bigger. Alrighty, Zillow PID. Wait, Zillow PID. Like 1, 2, 3. Bedrooms 3. Street address, things like that. Something. And then features. It gives us like a bunch of features as well, which is actually an array like backyard, front yard, and this is helpful for us, front yard and so on. Okay. All right. So why is this data important to be sent? Why is this data important? Because we have to store this data on the front end. I don't need to write this down, but this is the data that this proper API gives us back. Okay, this is the searching state. So what happens is the user has entered an input. The user has entered an input in the UI. The UI, the front-end web app, actually calls an endpoint called API/parse properties, and it sends it back natural language. I'm going to put that to small text here. Then we send this text back into JSON, and I'm going to make this bigger because our backend does the job of calling parse properties. This is all happening in parse properties. And then we call the Zillow API, which then calls which then sets all of this text and sends it over to our front end. Now, which of this data needs to be saved? Which of this data should be put in our state? So in order to figure that out, let's actually open the app again, figure out what the user interaction should look like. So when you're on this page, you search, something is happening, that's all fine, like some data will come back. It is obvious that this data, the data that the user, the data that the Zillow Working API sends back needs to live in state. Why? Because that is the data we need to display on the page. And if a user clicks on it, we take them to this page. To this property details page. Ignore the details of this page, but once we go back, what happens? Everything that we wrote is taken away, right? That is not the state we want. We want that the data that we entered in the text field should still be there because we still want to see some properties that we were searching. And then everything else that we searched at that moment, all of the properties that we had at that moment, should also be shown, right? So that means that actually Zillow Working API did not just send one property, it sent a bunch of properties. It sent multiple properties down here, which is why it is important that this data be stored across multiple routes, across renders. So if we go forward and we go back and this app re-renders, we still want to save that. Put the state into the URL. Now that would be one approach to fix it, to have it. Save the image, title, bedrooms, address, property we want in the state, and also the ZPID. Yeah. But something that we want to store is, and I'm going to create a store here to talk about what data we want to store in our state. I'm going to create this here and talk about, this is going to be the store that we put in our state management solution, whether it is Redux, whether it is context, whether it is React query, whatever that might be. This is the state that we're going to put. Okay, so we need text here. Now let's talk about state of this app. What is the state that we want to store? I'm going to call this store actually. And when I say store, it is the state store, or like Redux store. Let's call it state store just to be clear. So first we want to put this data that the Zillow API gave back to us, which is all of these properties. Then we also want to put this text that the user wrote, because when we want to show them the string that they wrote. So this is going to be the search string or the search phrase. This is what the user wrote. Search input actually. I'm going to turn this down a bit and set it to black. And then we also want to store the properties that we just returned back from this UI. Okay. Now this is just searching. Put the state in the URL is actually a good suggestion. But think about how much state we're going to be putting in there. We have all of these properties. There could be, how many properties are we giving back? We've got, I think, like we talked about 12 properties. So we have 12 properties. We've got that. And then we've got this search input. So that is something that we already have. But we haven't talked about the recommendation yet. So that's our state store. Before we dive deeper into solutioning, let's talk about if we were to do this with React's native hooks. How are we going to do that? Actually, this would be a good exercise for us to talk through. If we want to store the state just using React, how are we going to do that? We're not going to use any libraries. If we are to just put it in state, how are we going to do that? Samyak, welcome. Hello from Ahmedabad. Hello from Seattle. What is the state we need just for React? I missed the part. Yeah, let me repeat that question. So we search, and when we go, like when we click this and when we go back, we don't have anything here, right? If we were to store the state of that app so that it persists between renders, how would we do that? So I click search, I hit this, I may go forward, but then when I want to still see this. Hello from NYC. Arjun, you're from NYC? So question for you all, and tell me in the chat, is between renders, how would I do it? Local storage, that is definitely an option. Are there React only solutions available? useState. useState is good, but when the app re-renders or when we go back, actually that's what we're doing right now. When we go back, useState will be discarded. Context. I think context actually gets discarded between renders as well, if I'm not wrong. React. I think useContext is discarded. It doesn't say. It does discard, right? Yeah. So, useRef. What happens with useRef is that if you put a value in useRef, React doesn't actually cause a re-render. useRef, it is maintained across, it persists across renders. So if you were to store this value, looking for a 3-bedroom house in Seattle, save it and search. When you click and then you come back, you want to read from useRef again, and this way you can get the data back. So you don't need to use anything else. No external library is needed. You can also put all of these. useRef can take anything. It can take objects as well. So this is how you can persist state without using anything else. And this is why it is important to do this exercise, because Redux, they're all built on top of native React stuff. So it is important to remember that we can do everything that these libraries are doing ourselves as well. Of course, there's a lot of work that needs to get done, so these libraries actually make it easier for you to get it done. But this is why it's important to work on the fundamentals. Okay, so that means that, where does my app go? Okay, that means that if I was to just use React, what I would do is I would put, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom in useRef. I would put properties in useRef if I wanted. I'm looking for a 3-bedroom and just make my app do a load of the properties again. Not very performant. So instead, what I could do is I could put properties in a useRef, or I could actually leverage local storage as well. But in this case, I don't even need it, because I could just use the useRef. I could put all of these properties in useRef. Okay. So now let's talk about the second scenario, which is, so I've already searched properties. Now, if you notice here, and if I open my Figma app, these kind of like buttons, like, dislike. I actually need to get rid of this dislike button. I need to get rid of this. But we have this like and dislike button. So what happens when you like and dislike? If you like a property, we show you this content based on properties you liked, and that is some additional state. So what happens? I'm going to duplicate this, and now the user has over here, because we are talking about this now. Okay, so what the user now does, this is what the app sees, right? So I'm going to put this in my app. Okay. Pretty wonky, but hey, it'll do. Alrighty, so that is the user. Make him smaller. Okay. Now the user has liked a property. So this is, we call this liked a property. This is and I'm going to move this up a bit. Command X, Command V, all, and move. So when a user likes a property, we don't need the starting state in this case. Actually, yeah, we do need a starting state for this. When a user has liked a property, in the beginning, when we did not have any recommendation list for them, when we did not have any recommended list of properties, our recommended properties was empty. We did not have anything. So that is our starting state. But when a user likes a property, we start our recommendation generation. So we say generate recommendation. So when a user likes a property, we actually do a bunch of stuff here. So we call, what do we call? I think we call the generate save property. So we call this save property, which actually calls save property to DB, which saves it here, and then we generate embed. Wait, no, not this. This is not the one. Where is it? Save property. I think it's in property list. Set recommended properties. Recommended properties comes from set properties. I think it goes down to property details. And then we property, basically save property endpoint goes to server.js. Save property endpoint calls save property DB. Where am I generating? Where is my generation of embeddings? Async function generate embeddings, property details. Handle like, oh, there it is. Okay, handle like, oh, okay. So I save the property in the database and then I generate recommendations based on that. I actually have to fetch recommendations, and all of this should be happening in the backend. So some refactor needs to happen here, but basically what we do in API, which is Zoomer API, this stuff is not done yet, but what we do is we like the property. I think our endpoint is /save property, API save. So that is gonna be here in the save property endpoint. We then actually we first save it to database. So I'm going to create a database here. DB database. Oh, it does have a database. This is my convex database. I save this data in the database. And then okay, this is where things get interesting. Let's remove all of this. Okay, so I save this in the database. Then the next thing I do is, this is the API endpoint, API/save property. I also need to call the then generate recommendations. So this saves in the database, and then the next step it does is calls the LLM service. Hold on, I'm gonna copy this over here. LLM API. And what this is doing is actually it generates embeddings. Text. Which we actually then put back in our database. Okay, so why do we do that? When you search the properties, when you search for properties, how LLM will help you search properties from database. Properties, how LLM will help you search properties from the database. Can you rephrase that question, Chirag? Search properties from the database. I think you're asking for this connection. Is that the... Let's see this. Still the stream is dropping frames. Really? Shit. Why does it do that? Still dropping streams. Okay, let me turn down the bitrate a little bit more. That's weird. It reset the bitrate to 60,000. I had just turned it down to... I don't know how it did that. Sorry, my bad. Can you explain the flow, like how LLM will be used? I want to understand the process. Okay. So what happens here is you like a property. Actually, we should talk about what state we're sending over as well. We didn't talk about it. But let me explain what's happening here. So you like a property. You say I like price ending, price starting. So you send that JSON blob that you had here. This is the stuff that we know about this property. So you send, oh my goodness, not this. Right, so you send this data over, the bathrooms, bedrooms, ending range. Right, is that what we're sending over? Hold on, let me verify this. We send back property, we're saving that property, because when we actually first save that in the database. Property, and property has all of the data responsive property. In the save property function, save property DB, yeah, we're sending back all of this information. So we're actually sending back all of this bedrooms, bathroom, city over to the database. So we like a property, we're actually sending back all of its bathrooms, bedrooms, stuff like that. Zillow PID, which is actually important. So we send this over to the database. So we actually send this over to our save property endpoint, which then sends this information over to our... Then what we do is, the next step we do is we actually generate recommendations for this property. And the way we generate recommendations is we call this LLM API, which generate embeddings. That's what LLM API is doing. It actually generates embeddings, and in order to store that embeddings, it calls the database. Yeah, I actually thought that you guys were both the same Chirags. Chirag and Chirag Patel. But okay, so here's what we're doing, right? So we call generate embeddings. LLM API actually generates empty vector forms of this JSON object. This is how the LLM API is able to understand what does what does a text or what does a blob of content JSON looks like from a vector standpoint. So they actually just look like we might have seen in the convex database. I don't know if I showed you, but I'll show you convex database. But they are just they are actually vectors. This is embedding. This is what this property or like this property looks like to the LLM. It is an embedding. We store that embedding in the database. Now, why do we store that? We store this embedding. Actually, I need to create embedding. So we create an embedding for it and we store it in the database. Oh, hold on. Something I just realized. Before we even save this to the database, we actually need to call the embeddings from LLM API. Okay, so this is a bit more involved. So what we do is we send this over to our LLM API, and we do this in this function. We're doing it right here. In the save property DB, we're actually first generating embeddings, saving that embedding in the database. The reason why we do that is I will tell you in just 1 second. So we pass this over into our LLM API, which then creates an embeddings. It generates embeddings, and the embedding looks something like it looks like 0.98. It looks like that. Okay, so it generates that, adds it on top of whatever this text is, so creates this 2 items database. So this is the data we send over to our convex. And why do we store that? We store that because we need to store this embedding so that we can generate. LLM will have access to our database to generate the embeddings? No, it doesn't. LLM does not have access to our database to generate embeddings. We actually generate embeddings through the LLM itself. And all we need to pass to the LLM to generate an embedding is the data that you want to be parsed, to be generated into embeddings. So what we do here is if embeddings function, I'll show it to you. That comes from LLM.js. So LLM.js, this is the function, generate embeddings. We stringify the property, call OpenAI, which is our LLM. And then that is what we call this embed query function, which is how we're generating the text. This is it. We're not passing our database to the embeddings function. We call the embeddings function with the property or with the data that we want to be embedded. Okay, so then what happens with the DB function? We where is it? Save property to DB. Where is it? No, right here. In the save property to DB function, and then we store this in the database. And actually, there's a bug here. Bug fix. Don't insert if property already exists. Absurd. I wonder if convex actually has a absurd. Insert. Do I have abstract? I don't know. Oh, what was I looking at? Writing data. Okay. Update b.patch. Shallow merging it. New fields are added. Give it an existing document ID. We'll replace the document entirely. Okay, I need to do that later. I need to fix this bug where instead of just always inserting, I need to find that that item and then update it. Shruti, I want to ask, I was trying to run the repo locally and having issues. My node is saying that process is not defined. What is the error now? Oh, you're probably getting that error because of your env file. So you need this .env. And then so here might be where you're getting that problem, process.env. And then in your missing the .env, if you've got .env, then that should be fixed. And process is probably coming from here. So check that. And I don't think there is any other config needed. Let me check. That is the .env file. Make sure you have .env in your folder. Yeah, I think that's basically it. Okay. How LLM will help us? Your code only is the same code would be. .env is there and clone your code, so it will be there. Isn't the process from Node? Yeah, it is from Node. Getting process variable itself is not defined. That is weird. Why are you not getting process? That's weird. How LLM will help us to provide recommend dumb questions. Oh, not a dumb question. Let me explain that. So the question is how LLM will help us to provide a recommendation based on the embeddings. Okay. So it is a little bit more involved in here. So what it does, it generates embeddings, right? That is something that LLM APIs can do. OpenAI does that for you. It converts text into JSON. And what it does is we actually pass this down here, and which then gets stored in the database. Now, the next step to generating a recommendation is that's not something that the LLM is doing. I mean, technically it is. But what the next step is, once we get this, once we store this data in the database, we then generate recommendations. And let me show you the code where we do this. So this is actually happening in server save no, it is happening in, I need to move all of these routes into their own file. Property details, save property, we do that, and then in handle like we have this function called generate recommendations. So if I show you this function, this is actually a convex here, generate recommendations. Convex is the database we're using. It is a vector, it is a database that supports vector. It provides this function called vector functions, which is how we generate. Let me actually open this for you. Similar properties is in Convex API. Similar properties. It is in Convex property vector functions, I think. Yeah. Okay, so this is the function, similar properties, that does that stuff. So we send it the property that we want to search against, right? And then what it does is it creates this is generally how we convert JSON into that embedding. And then we're doing a vector search. What this vector search does is, this is a convex function, but what it does is it checks this embedding, the new embedding or the property that you want to compare with the rest of the in the database. So for example, what it's doing is it's going through every property. So for example, if this is the property we want to generate recommendations for, it's going through all of these properties and these properties look similar. So for example, if this looks similar to this, it'll give you a score of 0.9864, whatever. And then if this looks dissimilar to this, it'll give you a low score like 0.12 or 234, something like that. So what generate recommendation is by comparing each of these embeddings to itself, to other recommendations, or to other properties, to other embeddings. And that is something that the database does for us. So it's not something that, it is a vector search functionality that the database provides for us. But that is a great question. It is not a dumb question at all. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to show you these embeddings, how we actually generate recommendations. So once we've stored this this data in the database, we actually return like an OK. Oh my God. Come back here. Can I actually reverse this? Send to back. No, I can't do that. So I shape arrow. Oh, fine. I'll just use this. Oh my goodness. Okay. So convex then sends back, I'm going to add this here. Then convex sends back a data of like 200 OK, which just means that the item was created. And if I'm not wrong, I think it sends you back the item itself, which is what it just inserted. But I could be wrong on that. But I'm gonna assume that it sends back that as well. Although that is not something we are using, so I'm gonna get rid of this action. So it just says 200 OK, which is based in the database. Right, then the next step we do is actually to generate recommendations. So there's a lot of data flowing in this. Hey Namir, welcome. It takes so long to explain this. I wonder if it would be helpful if I create a video on recommendations using LLM. Let me know if this is something you would be interested in seeing. Oh my God. I want to just make this bigger. Okay. Okay, that's fine. The next step is actually to do a vector search. In order to do a vector search, some stuff that we have to pass it down is, and all of this is happening on the back end, so just remember that. And when we say state store, we add state store. I think it's important to highlight that. Okay, we're like we're almost towards the end of this stream, but I want to wrap up this generate embeddings data before we end today's stream, because I really want to start talking about state management solutions. Okay, so what is the data that we get back? What is the data that we get? Oh my god, where did 200? Oh, okay, go. Okay. What is the data that we get back from for doing a vector search? In order to do a vector search, we send this property, and really what we need to send is this embedding. All of this data is still happening in the backend. So we send the embedding, which is actually this. Oh. So we do a vector, actually gives us back a list of IDs that match our recommendation, or that match the property that we send. So it actually gives us back recommendations, which is a list of IDs, database IDs, or like property IDs. And these are the property IDs that, okay, so it gives us back that. And this is how we know some properties that match the property that we already liked. Now we have a list of recommendation. Is this data goes back to API save property, which I kind of want to make bigger as well. There, API/save property. And now the next step is actually fetch this property from the database. So we got a list of recommendations, and then we gotta do another call to the database to get query, which basically just gives us back, we pass in the property ID, and then it gives us back kind of like everything that we have stored about the property. So it gives us back stuff like bathrooms, bedrooms, everything that we need to display the property again, image, and so on. Okay. All right. Now that we have this data coming back, so this is a long list of things that we have to do. Now that we have the data coming back from the convex database, which is the, actually we need this, and we actually may have to make multiple calls to get these properties, right? So because for each of those properties, we'll need to fetch them from the database. So I'm going to duplicate them. And this is also interesting to see because this can identify bottlenecks in the app. And clearly we need to optimize the number of calls we have to make, right? So each of these is going to be a get query. And so we get back multiple items. I wonder if there may be a way to batch this requests. So we only send once and get back of the data once. But this is what we have to do. Now that we have that, we're to our front end. So what is the data that we send to our front end? We send all of these items back to our front end. It's here. And we send this back to our front end. Okay. Now with that, what does our client store look like now? I will pause here to see if anybody has any ideas on what the client state should look like at this point after we get all of these properties back from the database. What should the client state store have? also make this like pink. Oh, that's better. Okay, store. And what should the client state store have? Should it still have search input? And what is like the property? This is actually an event, right? Event. Okay, does chat have any ideas? What should we add? Is it even worth storing these properties? Thanks to everybody who's been posting on Twitter. Thank you for sharing the word. Okay, here's what we need in the client state. Actually, you know what? I didn't show you the UI app, so I can understand this could be confusing. So here's what we want to show in the client state. Once we like a property, we have this little section that pops up that says based on properties you liked, right? So all of the 4 or 5 recommended properties that came up, we have to now start showing them here. And that is why we actually recommended properties to our client state store. So now our state increases. And here's what, notice this. This is a single page app still, right? This is all happening on the same page. We haven't changed the URL yet. And that is important to remember, because if you have a URL based state route, this has not changed yet. You're all in the same URL. So that is important to note. Now, at this point, what state management solutions can you think of? What are our needs right now? We need to be able to add objects to that state management, right? Needs to persist between renders. So if you go forward and you come back, we still want to see the same properties. Here's something else. If you like another property, we want to show you more properties so that recommended list will grow, right? Now, based on what you know about state, give me a few ideas on what libraries do you think would be a good fit here. What state management libraries come to your mind? And is useRef still a good option? That is also a question, because in this app, in this state, we said we could still use useRef, right? What do you think? Can we still use useRef in this state, in this point? Zustan. Actually, you know what? I have not used Zustan, so I don't know if this would be a good bare necessities for state management. Create a store, remove bears, primitive objects functions, immutably bind your components. That's it. Nice. Simple, unopinionated, doesn't wrap your app in context providers. Oh, nice. Yeah, definitely. I think this would be a good use case. Selecting multiple state slices. ZooStan. Another vote for ZooStan. Yeah. I've not used ZooStan. How do you even say it? ZooStan? ZooStan? I don't know. I have not used it. I have glanced over the documentation. It feels like this would be a good solution because you can add data, you can add like mutations, you can add anything it says. And then I think you can get it. State dot increase population. Use the hook anywhere, no providers are needed. Component will re-render and changes. I think this would be a nice experiment for me to try out ZooStan on this. But I have not used ZooStan myself. What else can we use? How about useRef? Any ideas on useRef? We used useRef here, in here. What happens if we use useRef here? Any ideas? Can useRef be used here? Can we just add another property to useRef? ZooStan. ZooStan? ZooStan? I don't know. I think I have to watch a video to see how it's pronounced. ZooStan. Oh my goodness. ZooStan.
In this video, I'm going to teach you everything that you need to know about ZooStan and how to use it.
I'm calling it like the god Zeus. Zeus god. Greek god Zeus. Okay. I will answer the question on useRef. Here's why I think you'd be a good option here. What happens? Let's talk about useRef's documentation. Let's go to useRef documentation. There is. Okay, here. When you change, so by the way, with useRefs, what you do is you put the data in ref.current. What happens is when you change the ref.current property, React does not re-render your component. React is not aware of your choices. In our app, as we like more and more properties, as I start liking more and more properties, once I set something in useRef, it will not get re-rendered even if I update ref.current. So my app will, which is why at this point we need to move away from useRef, right? We need to find something that will re-render our app. And at this point, we can be like, okay, the native React method doesn't, what other options do I have? Now, you may think that context provider is a good one because it actually re-renders component when context updates. And it would be, context provider would be a good solution here. Context would be a good solution here. In fact, in our app, we were using useContext yesterday. I think this is a really good point where tomorrow we're going to pick up and talk about tanstack query. Tanstack query. It is also a state management tool, but we're going to talk about why between useContext. Why do we want to choose between useContext, tanstack query, and redux? And we're going to continue this exercise that we've been doing today of sketching out the architecture of this, figuring out what state we need to store and which libraries make sense. Meanwhile, I'm gonna go ahead and check out ZooStan tomorrow. But that was today's stream, folks. Thank you so much for joining. Hope this stream was helpful for you. We have been talking a lot in detail about the state management of this app. Before picking a library, it is important to figure out how state flows, how data flows in your app. What is the state you need to keep in your client-side app? What is the state you need to pass to your server side and what is the data the exercise we're doing to figure out how data flows through our app in order to figure out which would be a good state management library for us. If you enjoyed today's stream, hit that subscribe button on YouTube. And if you're here today, I would love to see you tomorrow as well. I'm going to be streaming again at 9:30 p.m. PST, same time as today. And until then, I will see you soon. Bye, folks.